This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by SupportYourApp. Developers, get outstanding outsourced customer support for your app. Find out how they can take care of your customers while you grow your business at SupportYourApp.com. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices at WWDC and AltConf in San Jose. It's a year later, and we get to talk to Ish again about a lot of things. We got a lot to cover today. Ish, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So first of all, let's go back to where we were last year. You were one of the stars of App the Human Story.
Right.
Now App the Human Story is out. It's available on iTunes and other places.
Yeah.
People can see it. Are you still signing autographs?
Occasionally people come up to me and say, hey, I recognize you from the movie, I appreciate what you did, and I'm really inspired by the story, which is awesome. It's nice. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, because that kind of thing can be a little fleeting, but it seemed like your story made quite the impression on folks.
Yeah, people seem to really enjoy it and relate to it, particularly as independent developers are folks who are maybe working a day job doing development and looking into becoming indie. So. Yeah.
And they realize what it really takes.
Yeah, there's a lot behind it. Yeah. So.
All right, so let's now fast forward to this year. What did you think of the Keynote announcements? What, as a developer, what meant the most to you?
So, as a developer, it was interesting. I kind of describe it feels like having a healthy meal. So, after a long run of just thing after thing after thing that's been kind of exciting and world changing, this was more calm. It's all good stuff. It's all fantastic stuff. Particularly just not as a developer, but as a user. The user stuff is amazing. It's nice. There's not just stability, but performance, increasing performance for older devices. That's something everyone's going to enjoy. There's little tweaks here and there that just polish it and make everything nice, so it's cool. From the developer side, there's, again, just little things that we ask for, but not gigantic things. And from the looks of it, it's going to be, in a way, less work because fewer things are going to break because there's not huge radical changes, right? But there's very nice tweaks and things that are polished that'll be good for us. So.
I liked your phrase, but you specifically said a healthy meal,
yeah. And
that's kind of interesting because you can eat that fast food stuff and it fills you up and keeps you going for a little while and then you crash later.
You get that immediate joy, that immediate rush, and then you feel. And the healthy meal, you're well, and then by the end of it, you're actually this is good. Yeah. I feel better. I feel so yeah. This is a good year for that.
Carrots are not a bad thing.
Right.
Okay, so. I'm just going to hit you with a couple things. Siri shortcuts. What does that mean to you as a developer?
Could be world changing, honestly. I haven't really gotten a chance to dig in yet, but so Siri shortcuts are built on top of Workflow. And Workflow was already an amazing app. In my opinion, possibly the best iOS app ever made because what it does is lets you kind of link iOS apps together. You take the functionality from one and then feed it into the next, into the next, into the next, and do really powerful things. So now we have that ability, the automation, we have some HomeKit stuff, and on top of that we have Siri, which means that users can now create their own workflows and just call them with a simple command. So that's very, very impactful. And then from the developer side, now our job is to kind of provide an API to just users in useful ways that they can take the functionality from our app, they give us some input, we give them some output, and then they can take that and do what they want with it. So it should be really exciting and creating, and maybe even a gateway for some folks to get into development, right? So kind of early on, some people ended up becoming developers because they had a MySpace page and wanted to change a particular element. They learned to inspect elements and change things. They're oh, no, I don't know, want to explore this further. So with the Siri shortcuts, it's kind of the same thing. So as you get some things you want, you may desire a little bit more functionality and then get a greater interest into development from that. So I think it's really great all around.
I've been anxious to see how the developers felt about it simply because as a user, it was pretty exciting to me because it will let me do easier some of the things I've already done and let me do some things that I really haven't been able to accomplish with my understanding of the situation currently. That it looks like it'll be a piece of cake and I'll just be able then to move to another level.
Right, it allows you to be creative in a really personal way. You get to create things that are personally useful to you and then maybe even kind of share them to other people. Hey, I have this recipe of things to do and I just issue this command and all this stuff happens. So it's pretty neat, yeah.
I know they pitched it as security stuff, but some of the at the end, we started getting tools to manage our time spent on our devices and all. How does a developer think about that? Is that a good thing because there's such a clamor over it, or do you want people spending lots more time in your app?
Well, overall, I want balance. I want people to be healthy. And while I would love for people to spend time in my app, I also recognize that you have a life to live. So I want you to have a healthy life, balance, again, like a healthy meal. I want there to be something, some kind of restraint in there. So the apps that I make aren't like super addictive, and they're mostly like productivity and utility. You get in, you do what you need to get done, and you get out. But some of the other apps, maybe sometimes people don't realize how much time they spend, or just having like a stopgap to remind them like, hey, you've been doing this for a while, you might want to get up. It'll be really neat. Also great for children who are just now being exposed to a digital world, and there's really no way like around it at this point, right? So at one point there's like, well, screen time, keep kids away from screens, but the reality is that's the interface for the world now. So you have to have a bit of screen time. It's like how that screen time is being used, and I think this will help a lot. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I'm also kind of impressed that Apple did it because they didn't have to, right? What they're doing is giving you an opportunity to step away from their product and realizing that same balance. Like, it's okay, you can come back later. If you go away, you won't be gone for good, you'll come back, and I think that's good overall.
Yeah, I was talking to someone last night that they were telling me how they were trying to manage their kids' time with their devices, but their kids would say, well, Daddy, you're at the dinner table, and do you make money on Facebook? He's a developer, and he's like, no, I don't make money on Facebook. So he got caught, and so it'll be a whole different thing. But I'm like you, I didn't see it. It's funny, I didn't see it quite the way some people saw it. I saw it just as more of a way to manage the flood of information that comes at us all the time. And so looking at it that way, I'm kind of excited about it because now I can be a little more selective about what I get when.
Right. Yeah. There's that element too, right? So there was part of it was actually showing how much time the app has spent doing things in the background, or how much time the app has spent running, like how many resources are getting put towards this particular thing, and it lets you like kind of fine tune. Like, is this really where I want to spend the majority of my time? Look at your kids. Is this what I want my kids doing? My kids spent 5 hours on YouTube, which is amazing. That when you try to kind of gauge and kind of balance their lives a little bit, you want some entertainment and some education and things like that. So basically kind of balancing out how they use the device and kind of steer them in the right path. But unless you're like really sitting over their shoulder, sometimes you might not know it, particularly with older kids, right? You have like teenagers, they have gotten a little bit of independence, and now you can kind of guide them a little bit. So.
I don't know. Do you develop Watch or Apple TV apps? And how did you feel about what we got from those ends?
I'll start with Apple TV. I don't develop Apple TV apps because that's mostly content driven, and unless you have content, there's not much to do. As such, there was pretty much nothing for Apple TV development that was announced. So that one's quick. WatchOS, I did early on, and then I stopped because I realized that mostly what people are using the watch for is really just fitness tracking things. Unless I had something along that line, then it wouldn't be really that useful, because it's not really an interface you like use all the time. You don't sit up and just hold your watch and just like do things. It's like very quick action, so I don't have it. But I might have like little, kind of like the little widgets now to go into the Siri face. So.
Oh, okay, that's nice. So remind folks, what apps do you have out on the App Store that they can sample and try out? Okay,
so I've done some cleanup. Right now, I just have Stamp Pack, which is the sticker pack. There's both the Messages version and just the iOS version, because for some reason you can't start with sticker and then go to iOS. I'd love to have them combined, but that's not an option at the moment. So there's those two, and then I have Boomerang, which is a translation app, which lets you just kind of put in a phrase. It translates it to the language you like, and then shows you that translation back just to kind of double check to make sure that things are the way you expect. And then I'm working on a app, hopefully releasing it pretty soon, but maybe not till fall. It's called Capsicum, and that's a daily planner, and that'll be a daily planner and notebook, and hopefully include a lot of the stuff that was introduced, like some of the Siri shortcuts and all that. So.
Capsicum as a daily planner?
Yeah.
Why Capsicum?
It's interesting. So there's levels to it. One is it's a really unique name. So I'm working with a designer in Australia, and I'd never heard the name Capsicum before. I was like, what is that? I realized, it's bell pepper, which is neat. So fundamentally, it comes from a Latin root, a capsa, that basically means a box to contain things. And we're making kind of like this modular planner where everything is kind of like modules. You can swap out to-do lists or notes or things like that. I'm like, oh, it's modular, it works out, I just like the way it sounds, honestly. Yeah.
It's one of those small things, but I always wonder, why Boomerang, and why people name their projects or their websites or whatever different things. But that makes sense.
That one. So Boomerang, right? It's because I'm translating it, but I want to know what it's like when it comes back. That's why I have Boomerang.
Okay.
The problem with that is, if you were to Google Boomerang, it's Boomerangs like everywhere, all over, right? If you put it in the App Store, Boomerangs all over. A unique thing that's cool about Capsicum is once you get it, that Capsicum, that's going to be the only thing you find. So it's kind of neat. So it has like several levels of like importance. So
I like it. And on Twitter, you are?
Ish Abazz, so Ishabazz. I'm that on Twitter. And everything else, I'm mostly on Twitter, but yeah, that's it. So.
Okay. Sounds good. It's good to see you again. Thanks so much for the time.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right. And you'll be signing autographs around the corner later. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. We'll have more from AltConf and WWDC in San Jose. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.